All praises to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, Ba'Shem Rakar Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom to the nation of Israel. This is going to be a lesson called "Come out of her, my people, for this is not your rest." And I'm going to be talking about how pretty much this habitat and this environment that we're living in as Israelites, man, is abnormal to what is functional for us to be in our best state, man, because the Israelites have been given a covenant with God by where if they keep the laws that God gave them, they end up being the best nation on the earth. But if they don't keep the laws that God gave them, then they end up being the worst nation on the earth. This is Deuteronomy chapter 7 and verse 6. For thou art a holy people unto Yahweh thy power. Yahweh thy power have chosen thee to be a special people unto himself above all nations that are upon the face of the earth. Yahweh did not set his love upon you, nor choose you because you were more in number than any people, for you were the fewest of all people, but because Yahweh loved you, and because he kept the oath which he has sworn unto your fathers, hath Yahweh brought you out with a mighty hand, and redeemed you out of the house of bondmen, from the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. Know therefore that Yahweh thy power, he is power, he is the most high, the faithful power, which keepeth covenant and mercy with them that love him, and keep his commandments to 1,000 generations. So we was given that as a rule for our nation for us to flourish in. But when we didn't keep the laws, that's when we started getting cursed. And I'm going to go into it, but I'm going to read some more scriptures first. And the people that are the Israelites that are under these curses right now are the Negroes, right? So-called African Americans, so-called West Indians, Native Americans, Hispanics, right? So-called Latinos, Latinas, and all that. They are the Israelites, man. And that's why you're in the situation that you're in. That's why you Mexicans have got all these crazy gang members that are killing each other and losing their mind out there with all these crazy tattoos because you sinned against God, right? And that's why, even though a lot of you are into that, all that crazy gang culture, a lot of you still believe in God in general anyway, but you're mixing it in with wickedness, right? That's why we have the same thing over here as so-called Negroes, man. We got all these crazy gangs, right? The city that I'm from had crazy gangs over here in the UK. Then over in America, there's crazy gangs over there, and there's a lot of gang culture stuff that goes on there. And even the Native Americans have got their own things as well, but it's lesser known because they live a bit more separated over there in the land of America. But there's a few videos that I've been watching recently that people have been pointing out that they see the curses within their people on the reservations, man, because they're Israelites, right? And that's why they still keep the culture of having the fringes on their clothing, which is according to Numbers, the 15th chapter, because they are the Israelites, man. And that's why they had several religious ceremonies that go back to things in the Bible. And there's books out there that go into this that show that they was keeping things like the Day of Atonement. They had a thing that was similar to the Passover, right? They had refuge cities over there in the land of America before they'd been conquered. They had all of those types of things. They did the circumcision, right? They kept the woman away from the family when she was on her menstrual cycle. They had all of these things that they did. This is Deuteronomy chapter 10 and verse 12. And now, Israel, what doth Yahweh thy power require of thee, but to fear Yahweh thy power, to walk in all his ways, and to love him, and to serve Yahweh thy power with all thy heart and with all thy soul, to keep the commandments of Yahweh and his statutes which I command thee this day for thy good. Behold, the heaven and the heaven of heavens is Yahweh thy powers, the earth also with all that therein is. Only Yahweh had delight in thy fathers to love them, and he chose their seed after them, even you above all people, as it is this day. Circumcise therefore the foreskin of your heart, and be no more stiff-necked. So all Yahweh wants for the Israelites is for us to keep his laws so that he can bless us, right? But the process that he's choosing to go through to make us receive that is according to his time scale and his timeline, not our timeline, because this is going to be fulfilled anyway, right? Nothing that's ever happened on the earth meant that this is not going to happen, because if Yahweh wants it, it's going to happen. Whereas Christianity's came in and tried to make up a fake doctrine saying, oh, because the Israelites sinned against God, that meant that they are no longer the chosen. No. Part of the Israelites sinning against God was never that they was going to be cast away. It was always that they was going to go through the curses. The covenant wasn't, if you keep the laws, I'm going to bless you. And if you don't keep the laws, I'm going to cast you away and you're not going to be a nation before me. That was never how it was. Because when you read Jeremiah, the 31st chapter and the 35th verse, it says that the heavens and the earth have to be searched out in order for the Israelites to no longer be the chosen. It says that the sun and the moon have to no longer be a thing that exists, and that the stars have to no longer exist for the Israelites to not be the chosen. So we know that that's false. Verse 16, Deuteronomy chapter 10 and verse 16, circumcise therefore the foreskin of your heart and be no more stiff-necked. And that's why in the scriptures it goes into how he's not a Jew, which is one outwardly, neither is circumcision that which is in the flesh, but it's in the heart, because circumcising your flesh was according to you being 8 days old. So it's not something to glory in, man. It's not a thing that you can glory in being circumcised at 8 days old, because when you become an adult, right, you could end up taking your circumcised loins and committing adultery with that. You could end up still eating pork or sinning, shaving off all your beard completely. You could end up doing things that's not according to the customs of the law, which is what several Israelites did through several different captivities of the Israelites, man. That's always been a common trend among the Israelites. Verse 17, Deuteronomy chapter 10 and verse 17, for Yahweh thy power, for Yahweh your power is power of powers and Lord of lords, a great power, a mighty and a terrible, which regardeth not persons nor take a reward. So you can't bribe God. You can't bribe the Most High Yahweh into what you want him to do. It's not gonna work like that, right? It's never gonna work like that, man. Now, I started off talking about how the Israelites are not in their proper state because of sinning, right? And I'm gonna go into that. Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of Yahweh thy power, to observe to do all his commandments which are commanded this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. So if the Israelites sinned, which they did, then they would be under curses. So wherever the Israelites are right now, if you see that there's an abundance of them sinning, they should be under curses. Now those people that are in the land of Israel, their claim is that only about 13 or only about 17% of the population keep the laws of their forefathers, which they claim are the people of the Bible, right? So if that's true, then they should be in the state of being cursed. But they talk as if they're blessed, though. They talk as if they're actually in their kingdom, man. Which is ridiculous. They don't even believe that the Messiah's came yet, right? When according to Daniel's the 9th chapter and the 25th verse, there was a specific timeline of 483 years, if I'm not mistaken, from the Babylonian captivity to the Messiah that was supposed to take place. But they're saying that hasn't happened yet. So obviously they ain't the people, because they're still talking like they're waiting for the Messiah to come. Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 1. And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of Yahweh thy power, to observe and to do all his commandments which I command this day, that I will set thee on high above all nations of the earth. So the Israelites was given two choices. You're either going to be the best nation and keep the laws, or you're going to be the worst nation if you don't keep the laws. And the thing that would have made the Israelites not be the best nation is the curses that was put upon them, which would have changed their habitation, and it would have changed how the earth treats them. The curses of Deuteronomy 28 changes how the earth treats you, man. Right? You go from being treated good to being treated bad, man. Let's read some of them. Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 19. Cursed shalt thou be when thou comest in, and cursed shalt thou be when thou goest out. Now, I remember a video that I seen at Apostle Hardu way back, like, and when he read this one out, it was quite funny, man. When he read this scripture out, he said, you're going to be cursed when you go in. Put his hand in the air. And then he said, you're going to get a foot in the ass on the way out. And and then Apostle Gabar was there. And he started laughing. And then Apostle Tahar started laughing with him. And then he said, memory that stuck in my mind on that. You're going to be cursed when you go in. And you're going to get a foot in the ass on the way out. And that's exactly how it is, man. Right? When you're on them curses. You come in cursed. Right? You come in and your living situation might not be good. So that's why you always have all these Israelite celebrities talking about how I grew up from nothing, from water and cornflakes, from the trenches, the gutter. They've always got a poverty story before they made it to the fame. And then when they end up to the end of their career, they end up still with broke. They ended up rich throughout a certain period of time, but they end up always still ended up in that broke state, man. And that's how it goes with these curses. Because the curses change how you experience the earth, man. It changes your habitat. It changes your habitation. It changes the way how the earth responds to, man. Verse 20. Yahweh shall send upon thee cursing, vexing, and rebuke in order thou settest thy hand forth unto for to do, until thou be destroyed, and until thou perish quickly, because of the wickedness of thy doings, whereby thou hast forsaken me. So anything that you try and do is going to flop, right? Anything that you try and take place in, oh, I'm going to try and do this. Nope, it's not going to work. And the actual plan and the way you planned it out, you might actually see it work. It's just not going to work for you. You might actually see the thing that you thought in your mind take place and it works, but it just didn't work for you for some reason, even though the idea was perfect in terms of what you was trying to achieve, but it's just not going to work for you, because the earth becomes set against you as an Israelite once you sin against God. And therefore it's changed our habitat, man. It's changed how we experience the earth. Here's another one. Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 54. So that the man that is, in fact, let me go up a bit. Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 52. And he shall besiege thee in all thy gates until thy high and fenced walls come down, wherein thou trustest throughout all thy doings, and he shall besiege thee in all thy gates throughout all thy land, which Yahweh thy power have given thee. And this took place during the time of the Israelites in the book of Jeremiah, where Nebuchadnezzar came and he besieged the city, man, and caused for the Israelites to starve within their walls, man. Right? But you can also apply that to now as well with us Israelites, because we're surrounded on all sides by our enemies, man. There's just no wars though. We're surrounded by our enemies on all sides, right? To where we are forced in a state of poverty in ghettos, man. Verse 53. And thou shalt eat the fruit of thine own body, the flesh of thy sons and of thy daughters, which Yahweh thy power have given thee in the siege and in the straitness, where thine enemy shall distress thee. And that took place during that time, man. You can read about it in the book of Lamentations. You can read about that. Verse 54. So that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eye shall be even towards his brother, and toward the wife of his bosom, and toward the remnant of his children, which he shall leave. And that took place then, and it's taking place now. And that's why you can look at our people and you can see that the men of our nation are not trusting of the men of the nation, apart from those that believe in Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, right? And then you see that the women are not trusted on the women of the nation, right? And you can see that the men are not trusting of the women of the nation also. There's lack of a community within the people, because the curses change how you experience the world. It sets the world against you, man. No matter how hard you try and fight against it, the people's minds are turned against you. Your own people's minds are turned against you, right? And the rest of the heathen nations' minds are turned against you too, because they then become enemies that are set up against your nation to take you down. And this is only something that's applied to the Israelites. Let me prove it. Verse 25, verse 45, Deuteronomy 28 and 45. Moreover, all these curses come upon thee, and pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of Yahweh thy power, to keep his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. And people have looked at the so-called black race and Latino race and the Native American race. They've always looked at them, man, and they've thought, why did these things happen to these people, man? And they try and pretend as though, oh, nah, everyone suffers through slavery. Well, I was just researching into the UN Security Council mural, and I was watching a video, and the people was explaining the mural, right? But they didn't want to talk about the bottom right-hand corner of the mural, man, because the bottom right-hand corner of the mural clearly shows African Americans, as the world would call it, in slavery. It clearly shows that, which means that the people that made that, they know that that is a big part of American history, man. It's a big part of why America is considered the best country in the world. It's a big part, and that's been the catalyst of America taking place, but also the stealing of that land of both the Mexicans and the Native Americans. That's a big part of why that country was able to flourish, man. That those two things were the catalyst for that country taking place. The stealing of a land and the stealing of a people to help them build that land, man. And they used both sets of people because they knew that both sets of people was Israelites. And that's where the scriptures speak about how Judah and Israel was oppressed together. They was oppressed together in the land of America. And people deny that, but they don't have an answer for where they would say that they was oppressed together. Then where do they say? What place was it then? Because it's definitely not a place that you people can find within the Bible to try and say that. After Jeremiah spoke of that prophecy, it's definitely not. Here's another one. Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 37. And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations, with Yahweh thy power shall lead thee. Now I know for a fact that so-called black people, every single race has got a racist term for so-called black people. And my guess is that they'd have a racist term for Mexicans too, and they'd have a racist term for Native Americans, man. But that's a thing that a lot of that a Native American or a Mexican will have to come out and say, because I can't speak for that, because I don't know for a fact what the terms that they would have for them were. But I know that in America they've got a whole bunch of racist terms for Mexicans and Latinos and Native Americans. But I know that these other nations will have it for them too, because they are Israelites, just like how we are. No one cares about the things that have happened to them. They don't care. They just use the Mexicans to work hard for them and start up their companies, and they just try and even talk about the Native Americans as though they're extinct, man. But they're Israelites too, and they're not extinct. They exist. They exist, man. They're still around, you know. Now let me get this. This is Micah chapter 2. Micah chapter 2 and verse 10. Let me find that. Micah chapter 2 and verse 10. Arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest, because it is polluted, it shall destroy you, even with a sore destruction. Right? This society is corrupt, man, and if you stay within it, it's just gonna corrupt you and make you bogged out, man. Right? I saw just a video a minute ago. Well, like maybe about, I don't know, man, about an hour ago or something like that, and it was a video of a former scoffer that's now wanted to try and become an R&B singer, man. Right? But this guy was a big time scoffer, making a whole bunch of videos, right? A whole bunch of videos trying to like steal people's personal information, making fake accounts, pretending to be a woman to try and get into people's social media so that you can find pictures of them on there. Like, he was being a real scumbag with all that, man. But now he's tried to sail off into the sunset and think he's gonna become a musician, right? And he's not the first person that's tried to do that. That's been a scoffer. This is First John chapter 2 and verse 15. Love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh and the lust of the eyes and the pride of life, is not of the Father, but is of the world. And that's true, man. Right? All the things that's in this world is designed to try and corrupt us, man. And that's why the scriptures say to focus more on the things of the spirit, man, than on the things of the flesh, because it benefits you to think more of the kingdom, man. Because everything that's going on in this place is about you being brought down, because the foundations of it was you being destroyed. So if they try and raise up the foundations, then the whole society crumbles. And that's why they'll never give a reparations and all that stuff that they talk about, because that's the foundations of this society, was your oppression. For all the things that's going on in this world right now, even in all the other countries, man, you being oppressed was the foundation of that, because it would be a big deal if all the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, right, all the so-called West Indians and all that, if they didn't ever go into captivities or have their whole nationalities drained away from them, or have their societies crashed, or have their whole land stolen. All these people in America right now talking about the American dream, well, they wouldn't be able to just come over there and be able to start things up, because the Native Americans, that's their land, right? And if anyone would have been getting brought over there according to the Brotherhood, it would have been the Negroes that would have been brought over there, and the West Indians, and we would have been the owners of that whole that all that America. So all the stuff that they were doing over there, they wouldn't be able to do now, and they know this, and that's why they're never gonna try and set things right. They just want to try and hope that we forget, but it wouldn't even matter if we forget, because Yahweh's not gonna forget, man. Now let me get this. I found out a term yesterday called zoochosis. It says zoochosis is a term for complex post-traumatic stress disorder used to bring attention to the institutions that cause this harm. But the same holds for modern humans, the majority of whom live unnatural lives and in a form of captivity that bears no resemblance to our earth-centric ancestors. And that's for us Israelites, man. The way we're living right now does not bear any form to our forefathers, man. Our forefathers, King David, right, King Solomon, they had their own land and their own country, right? And they was living according to the laws of Yahweh. We was living in the Middle East, man. That's our land. And these people can laugh at that all they want. But when they hear this, they don't think it's so funny, man. When they see that we're serious about that we believe this, it's not so funny then. And when they actually start doing research and just stop being a scoffer and trying to mock according to no knowledge, then they end up seeing that actually, you know what? This is scary. And the things that these people think are not so funny anymore. And I'm starting to believe it. The more these scoffers start watching these videos, the more they start to believe it, man. Because they start seeing other people trying to come up against it, right? And they see that none of them are ever able to stop what we're being said. And these people will be so-called Bible believers themselves. But they can't handle this doctrine, man. They can't fight against this. They can't do nothing against it, man. Because it's the truth. If it wasn't true, these people would be able to find some kind of contradiction in there, but they can't. And they've been trying for decades and they still haven't been able to. This truth's just been growing more and more, and their society has been crumbling more and more, and they've been losing more and more freedoms every single day, to where the inflation price is sky high, right? They're bringing out fake money, cryptocurrencies and all that, to try and, like, they're gonna bring out money that they're gonna pay for people for their wages that goes up and down and is volatile. How are you gonna be paid your wages in a currency type thing that's volatile? That doesn't make any sense. That means that your wage they could give you your wages, and it could end up being more wages than what you were supposed to get if it goes up in value, but it could also be extremely less if it goes in value, down in value too. But the amount of wages that a person earns, according to work that they've did, should be a fixed rate. It shouldn't be able to change and go down or up. That's a false balance, which Yahweh's against that. Let me read this. Because America is going to be a land that Yahweh is going to use to destroy, to show never touch my people ever again, man. Revelation chapter 18 and verse 2. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every fowl, and the cage of every unclean and hateful bird. And that doesn't mean that the people are like wild animals over there, even though they are. This is talking about how this country, America, is going to be turned into a wasteland that only certain animals are going to be able to handle living in there. Only certain animals that can handle very harsh and extreme environments are going to be able to handle living in America anymore. And Isaiah, the 34th chapter, explains that further. Verse 3, for all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and all the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacy. So all these different nations of the earth have drunk of the way that America speaks as being right, and therefore they've lost their mind. They're drunk, they're stumbling all over the place, man. They've lost their mind, and in them losing their mind, the people that are below them, that are oppressed by them, have lost their minds. And who's the most oppressed people in this world? The Negroes, the Latinos, and the Native Americans. And people don't want to accept that, but they know it's true though. They know it's true, and that's why if they see us reach some kind of success, they think it's strange. If they see us in a neighborhood that's nice, they'll call the police on us even though it would be our own house that we're living in, right? And that happens to several celebrities. I'm not saying that that's a thing that's happened to me. I'm saying that that happens to several celebrities. If we go into a store, whether we're an old man or a young man or a middle-aged man, we get followed around by the security guard because they assume that we're going to do something wrong, even though by statistics, it's the so-called Caucasians that are the main ones that are stealing everything. They're the main ones stealing and destroying. Who destroyed Nord Stream pipeline number 1 and 2? Who destroyed that? Because I know it wasn't somebody that looked like me that was able to find technology to go 400 feet down underwater and destroy a pipeline that's got oil in there, that's providing oil from Russia to Germany. That wasn't us that did that. Who did that? Who did that? And are you going to call those people what you call everybody else that does stuff like that? Because just a random crazy guy running around on the earth gets called a T word, you know? So how much more a person that's destroying pipelines, what should he be called then? And that's why the hypocrisy of you people is disgusting, man. Because you always got a lot of mouth for our crimes that we commit, but you haven't got the same mouth or the same kind of thought process as for justice when it's somebody that looks like you that does it. And that's why the world will never be fair or never be righteous under your rulership, because you're wicked and you're corrupt, man. Verse 4, and I heard another voice from heaven saying, come up out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. Now this one is not talking about coming out of the place in your mindset. Micah chapter 2 and verse 10 is about coming out of the place in your mind first, right? But Revelation chapter 18 and verse 4 is going to be about physically coming out of that place, because there's going to be several Israelites and Israelites only that are going to be physically lifted up out of the lands of America and from every single other country that they've been scattered on the earth, while God is bringing an ultimate destruction on this place. He's going to be making ICBMs, intercontinental ballistic missiles, which is God's arrows. He's going to be shooting them from one end of the earth to the other. And when that takes place, the Israelites of the elect of the nation of Israel are going to be gathered from all the places that they've been scattered, like as corn is sifted in a sieve. Verse 5, for her sins have reached unto heaven, and God have remembered her iniquities. So God's going to remember all the things that you Edomites have did to us and that you heathens have did, but where you destroyed our habitat and made us lose our minds and made us be in a habitat that is not natural to how we function, man. This society is destroying to us, man. Israelite men, we ain't down with all that alphabet stuff that you people be pushing out there, man. But that's caused for some Israelites to be tangled in with that type of way of life and therefore be corrupted. And in fact, let me find the scripture on that, because there's a scripture that speaks on exactly how an Israelite can be corrupted by a wicked society, man. And let me see if I can find the scripture in Wisdom of Solomon. I don't know if it's the third or fourth chapter. Wisdom of Solomon chapter 4 and verse 12. For the bewitching of naughtiness doth obscure things that are honest, and the wandering of concupiscence doth undermine the simple mind. So exactly, wickedness being in a society, right, can change and corrupt things that are honest, man. And we're honest as Israelites. We're naturally good people, man. Whereas the world thinks the opposite. The world thinks that we're naturally bad people, and that when we're doing something good, we're just a good person, a bad person doing something good. And they think that Caucasians are good people naturally, and that when they do something bad, that they're just a good person that's made a mistake. But in actual fact, they're naturally wicked, man. And that's why they've been ruling the earth for so many years. Yet, how's the earth righteous? And are people complaining more than they're finding it good? Is there not men that are about 6'3", 400 pounds, pretending to be women, and that's considered as okay? That's considered as okay. But then if you say okay, then how about you stop calling me black and you say I'm Chinese? They'll say no, that's ridiculous. Let's not go too far, because they want to always still be able to use that as a thing to differentiate us, but they're prepared to not to make us not be differentiated by gender though. But they don't have a problem. They have a problem with being differentiated by color, but then they want to call people racist. And this is why we're tired of you people, man. We're tired of you. We're tired of this world. We're tired of this habitat. And we can't wait for Yahweh Ba'Sham Yahweh Shai to take this place down, man. Because this place has been a disgusting civilization for us to live in, man. And every single century, or well, excuse me, every single decade that's gone by, this place has got worse and worse, man. When I was around 10 years old, there wasn't men wearing blonde wigs and having weaves put in their hair, right? But then nowadays, there is that. Because this place is corrupt, man. It's a corrupt society, man. Real corrupt. Let me carry on reading. Verse 6, reward her. Revelation 18 and verse 6, reward her even as she is rewarded you, and double unto her, double according to her works. In the cup which she hath filled, fill to her double. How much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen, and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. And that's what America's for. In their mind, a lot of you Americans that ain't even down for, you ain't even trained in warfare like that. You ain't no soldiers and that. You boast in America's army, right? But you don't even understand the concept that America's army is weak compared to others. Okay, technology-wise, they're strong, but mentally and physically, a lot of them are weak because they've got a whole bunch of women in their army, and the women's standard to be accepted into the army is not the same as a man's standard. And women are not naturally warriors. I don't care how much they train, right? Here's the proof that a woman is not a warrior, right? When a man's going to fight another man in combat sports, right, the men always fight with no top on, right? When the women go to fight, they never do that. Why? Why not? If a woman was going to get into a fight with a man and she took her top off to try and fight that man, that changes the whole mood of what was going to go down, right? But if a man takes his top off to fight another man, that increases the intensity of this battle, man. That's going to make them both know, listen, man, this fight is really going to be going to where one of our spirits are going to be going back up to the heavens. But if a woman was to take her top off to try and get in her minds to fight a man, the man's going to be thinking about something else after that now. He ain't going to be thinking about throwing hands no more. He's going to be thinking a completely different thought process, which I don't need to explain for this video, man. I think people will know what I'm talking about. Revelation chapter 18 and verse 8. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire. For strong is Yahweh who judgeth her. So that America is going to be destroyed, man, with flames. And all you people that have built up a life in there, you've got a house over there, right? You've got, oh, I've got properties and I'm invested. All right, well, you've invested in a burning house, man. You've invested in a burning house, and because you chose not to repent and you thought that God's blessed America and you thought that America was the best place in the world to live and all of that, well, you, along with all the things that you own, are going to be burnt up over there. Whereas another man that didn't trust in that land, he's going to be blessed when it goes down, man. Because Yahweh is going to have mercy on him and take him out of there through a heavenly salvation that nobody, apart from Bible believers, the true ones, right, knew about. Verse 9. And the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning. So they're going to be crying. But why are they going to be crying? Verse 10. Standing afar off for fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise anymore. So they're not going to be crying because, oh man, think of the people. Think of the people that burn up there. No, they're going to be thinking about their profits. They ain't going to be thinking about, oh, all these people that died there. They're thinking, man, I lost all my customers because all of those people used to buy my products. I became rich off those people. So what am I going to do with all these products I got now? The people over in my country can't afford them, and I'm not prepared to lower the price. So they're going to be thinking, man, I've lost out on all this money that I used to make now. That's all they're going to be thinking about. Not about, oh, it's so horrible what happened to America. No, they're going to be thinking it's horrible what happened to America because they're going to lose out on money because nobody really likes America. But they deal with America, right? And they deal with you Edomites in general because they've been able to make money from you. But when that money stops, they're not going to care about you. And you're going to find it out the hard way. Verse 12. Verse 11. Revelation 18 and 11. And the merchant of the earth shall weep and mourn for her, for no man buyeth their merchandise any more. The merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones and of pearls and fine linen and purple and silk and scarlet and all fine wood and all manner of vessels of ivory and all manner of vessels of most precious wood and of brass and of iron and marble and cinnamon and odors and ointments and frankincense and wine and oil and fine flour and wheat and beasts and sheep and horses and chariots and slaves and souls of men. So all types of things was being sold to America, man. Slaves were being sold there. Yeah. Souls of men. The integrity of people. A whole thought process was being sold to America, man. Right? And the main people that would have been affected by that would have been us, the Israelites, man. That would have been us. That's this stuff's affected the most. Like, America is not a benefit to us as a people, man. Even if you're so-called successful over there, in terms of riches and all that, you're still destroyed there, man. You're still destroyed, and I think I made the point of the lesson, man. Like, our natural habitat is to be in the land of Israel, following the commandments of Yahweh Ba'asham Yahweh Shai, and therefore receiving the blessings, man. And that's what Yahweh is ultimately guiding the nation of Israel towards. But he's going to pass it on to the remnant of Israel, the elected nation of Israel first. And then the rest of the Israelites are going to receive it after they receive death via different painful methods for their sins that they didn't want to repent for. And then all Israelites are going to be saved. Just like it says in Romans 11 and 26, all Israel is going to be saved, man. But some's going to receive it for life and glory, and others are going to receive it for shame and everlasting contempt. And I'm going to end the lesson there. All praises to Yahweh Ba'asham Yahweh Shai, Ba'asham Makar Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom to the elected nation of Israel. Shalom.